If you're looking for clear, pro-life thinking, cutting-edge apologetics, and a fresh approach to abortion dialogue, you've come to the right place. This is the Equipped for Life podcast.
Well, I am excited to have Jacob back in the studio, and for this reason, because we recently did a reader survey, and I know most of the people listening took that survey. We had 160 responses. It was really helpful. But in the, we asked some questions, what are your favorite things that we do? What things could we be doing better? Blah, blah, blah. And we had one question, it's like, what do you like about the podcast, or what could we do to make the podcast better, or something like that. And one person put in, everything Jacob is in, because he's super cool. So I want to get Jacob onto the podcast more often. It's just the hard thing is you're a couple of states away. And so only every once in a while are you here. But it is great to have you back. And I'm excited for this episode because, we released the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass like a year ago. And a lot of people don't know that since that's come out, like we've kind of changed your job, a lot of your job used to be, you did some logistics and some other things. And we've kind of moved a lot of that over to our awesome admin, Jen, who's like helping behind the scenes today. She's like, I've kind of moved everything logistics over to her because she's super good at it.
She's doing phenomenal.
And we've kind of moved you to more sidewalk counseling coach.
Yeah.
And so it's not like we're just done helping people with sidewalk counseling. It's like, get the course or you're on your own. Like you've been really, because a lot of these people really need one-on-one coaching. And so this has been a part of like what your supporters are supporting you to do is to be on the phone with these people like a lot, like dozens of hours sometimes that you spent with these people, helping them solve their problems, help them figure out how to deal with kind of different things that they're dealing with on the sidewalk, which is just, I think, just been a really like a better position for you to be in at ERI. And I know it's just been super helpful to a lot of the people that you're coaching. So that brings us to what we're doing today. You've been in touch with a sidewalk counselor who's taken our course named Rebekah Dyer. She works part-time with like our favorite pro-life organization, Justice for All. Yeah. But her sidewalk counseling is not part of JFA. Like they're very supportive of it, but it's separate. This is just kind of her. And so you've been coaching her, and she's been dealing with some interesting issues on the sidewalk. And she's taken some videos and some audios. And when you were telling the staff about it, you were just like, man, she's doing so well. She's doing all these different things super well. There's might be a couple of things that she could do a little bit better, but it's like a really good case study for how to handle tricky situations when you've got police officers who are telling you to leave, or maybe private security. And so we've compiled some of these videos and audios that we're actually going to play. We've got her permission to just play these audios. And what I want you to be able to do is give some commentary for the sake of other sidewalk counselors. Or you're going to find yourself in situations like this. So what is Rebekah doing well? What are maybe some questions or things that you would say if you had been there that maybe Rebekah didn't say? And just kind of like talking a little bit about this particular situation. So before we get into the videos, let's lay some groundwork. Talk to us a little bit about how you and Rebekah first got connected.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. You touched on that a little bit a minute ago, is how my job has transitioned, and I've loved it. There's so many people out there that have really needed our help, and we've been able to bounce ideas. And one of the cool things about doing this job is talking to all these different sidewalk counselors around the country. It's not that I'm like some magical guru or something. It's that I'm talking to so many people that I'm gathering tons of information from different people and finding out, oh, this works for you. Okay, this works. And, oh, look, this thing we thought would work didn't work. So I'm able to just kind of comprise this information and then share it with others. So I'm kind of like this conduit things are coming from.
Yeah. It's you're being a little bit too humble, though. Like there's also 5 or 6 years of your own sidewalk counseling experience, and you have a lot of wisdom about these things. Like there's that too. But I agree. It's really cool that you're connected with all like sidewalk counselors all over the country and hearing what they're all going through and being able to kind of, pass some of that information on. I think that's really cool.
Thank you. And one of the things that I do at ERI is anytime someone purchases the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass, my goal is to reach out personally to everyone that gets it with just a simple email. And if you've received one of those emails, I probably said in there, it's not a robo email. And that's the truth. It's not a robo email.
You.
I actually like, oh, look, somebody else got the course.
Right.
I'm going to write them a quick little email. And it says something like, hey, thanks for getting the course. I want to be available. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me. Here's my personal contact info or my email.
Right.
And so,
which this, by the way, like for like the way, like it's like the way online courses usually work, like for you to get that kind of of access with a course creator, you're spending thousands of dollars or more just to get that kind of access. And you're just like, hey, you got the course. Cool. Let me help you. Like I've got time. Let me help you. That's just a really great value that they're getting. I'm just,
I hope so. I think so.
For $50.
Right.
It's pretty great.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you to our donors who've allowed that to be possible.
Because for $50 a person, let me just tell you, it isn't going to work without our donors, right? So Rebekah, she was one of the people that reached right back out to me. And I think in her first email, she said something about she had a question for me or something. So I jumped right on that. We connected by phone, and she's in California. I'm in Georgia, so we got a little gap there. But I got to talking to her, and she was like, "I am just so thankful for your course right now." I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" She goes, "Literally, like 30 minutes before I got to the clinic, I had gone through your course on how to handle police." And how to conduct ourselves with police.
Right. We have like a lesson that's part of the course that's, how to talk to the police. Yeah.
So she went through that, and then she gets there, and guess what happens?
So the police show up that day.
Yes.
That is amazing.
So one of the beautiful things with that was that she recorded the conversation they had, and she did that because she saw the course. So it was so cool because then she was telling me about, oh yeah, I talked to the police and this and that. And if I remember correctly, I was like, so did you get a chance to record this or whatever? Thinking, of course not.
Right.
I mean,
no one ever does.
To be honest, guys, I forget to record these usually. So I know I'm telling you to do it.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Don't feel bad when you forget
as I don't do.
Or don't look at me as the example. Okay. So anyway, she's like, oh yeah, I recorded it. I was like, this is awesome. Sweet. And so will you share it with me? Are you willing to do that? I'm trying not to step on anybody. She's like, absolutely, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think she might've been a little bit surprised. I was like eager to hear this. So what happened? So she sends the audio over to me. I listened to it, and I was like blown away in a couple of ways, and we'll get into that. But she did so many things so well. And I'm not just saying that like to be nice. I do want to be a nice person, but I also want to be really honest. Yeah. She did so many things phenomenally. There's a couple things that she could tweak a little bit, but we'll probably touch on this again later. I'm just going to like touch on it right now, which is she set herself up just really well to continue having good interactions with the police. We'll talk about some more of that later. Okay. But in the case that she does get arrested, which I highly doubt, we're going to go over this. I believe I'm not a lawyer. However, I believe she has just set herself up in like a really strong position because she's not being combative. She's not being argumentative. Her persona is what I believe to be spot on, which is, officer, I want to follow the law. Right. I really need some clarity here. And this is the way I understand it. Please help me understand if I'm incorrect in some of these understandings of mine. Right. And so she's continued with this, and we'll get into that, but she's just done so well. Now, I will say something about Rebekah, how she's got an advantage that most of us don't have. And I was in this first video, I was just kind of blown away at how calm she was, and she didn't seem to be really nervous.
I noticed that too.
She was just very well composed and just kind of, I'm just having a conversation here. And so I asked her, I was like, does anything rattle you? What happened here? Like, how did you stay so
calm, cool, and collected?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, my dad's a retired cop and my brother's a cop.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're pretty familiar with police culture. So to be clear, it's not like she's getting arrested or has been arrested, all that. It's that she knows police and
it's less nerve-wracking than like if I get pulled over and I'm like, parts beating out of my chest and I'm freaking out. Yeah.
Right. Probably something to do with like she sees her dad, or she used to see her dad in a uniform all the time. Her brother's in a uniform. Yeah. Usually when you and I see that, it's costing us money at some point. Right. You know? It's like, oh, great. Was I going too fast again? Anyway. So she sent this video in and I went through it, and then I don't remember what happened. I shared it with you and I was like, you got to see this. This is good stuff. And then I think I was texting you like, Josh, we've got to make this into a podcast. And you were emailing me at the same time, Jacob, we should make a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. It was like that old like Christmas story where the husband and wife give each other like the same present or whatever. Yeah, it was, we both had the same idea completely separately. I emailed you while you're texting me. We should do this as a podcast. And it's like, yes, let's do that. And Rebekah was happy for us too.
Yeah, Rebekah was so supportive. She was great. I was worried about.
So thank you, Rebekah, for letting us. I think this could be really helpful for other sidewalk counselors. I know if I were doing sidewalk counseling, this is exactly the kind of thing I would love to see people like you give commentary to, because these situations, like no matter how much studying you do up ahead of time, like the details in the situations themselves it can be confusing and just like, in that moment, what do I say? What do I not say? I think this is the perfect kind of case study for us to take a look at and help some people. So,
and I just want to point out, it's easy for us to sit back right now and critique a video.
Right.
Okay. So please understand, like, we know you're going through a tremendous amount. You're not going to get everything perfect.
Right.
You're going to mess up, and that's okay. Right. There's like some basic things you want to hit on and get right in here. Right. But
even so, like Rebekah did like this, like at least 90%
did more than that.
So,
she did great. I think we ought to jump into the video here, and we can start just kind of going through some of this stuff.
So we'll take a look. This happens over 4 days. So we'll start with day one, which is a conversation that he has with a police officer, and just at any point you want, we can pause it. You can kind of tell us what you are seeing as, I know you don't want to call yourself this, but I will call you an expert sidewalk counselor. Okay. Like what is it you're seeing? What are things that maybe you might have said at this point if you had been there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So one other quick thing before we get into the videos, about roughly half the people that listen to this podcast listen and about half watch on YouTube or so. I think, or maybe 2/3 on YouTube and 1/3 listen on, Spotify or whatever. And I was going to say, we're going to play some segments of, this is cell phone video in a parking lot. And so it's not the best audio. It's not the worst. And I've done my best to kind of keep it, loud enough that you can kind of hear it. But every once in a while, especially, there'll be like cars driving around and certain parts get kind of inaudible. And so I'll put time codes in the description. If you just get to the point where you'd rather just skip that and just listen to our commentary, you will be able to do that. Or if you want to try to listen in, you might have a better time if you're usually a listener instead of a watcher watching this one, because everything we're hearing, I've got transcripts on the screen. So it's a lot easier to follow along with it if you're watching. So you might want to jump over to the YouTube version of this if you're a listener, typically just like on the road. So.
Good, how about you?
Same thing as, their warning there. If you guys don't have business with any of the businesses in the shopping center, you can't loiter and trespass. Okay. Because it is private property. So if you guys...
Sorry, I was just going to say, could I...
So real quick, Jacob, could you explain a little bit about so they're like at like a kind of like a shopping center. Yeah. This isn't like a standalone abortion clinic. So can you go ahead and kind of just explain a little bit about what you understand about where there's sidewalk counseling?
Yeah, that's going to make a lot more sense for people. So this is like what is going on? So this is like a strip mall. And there's multiple shops in there. There's like a sandwich shop and
there's a Subway that gets referenced later.
Yes. And I forget the other ones, but one of those places is a Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
And so this is really a sticky legal situation. It's not really cut and dry. Maybe it is, but I haven't been able to find it. Neither is Rebekah, and neither has the lawyer she's been having help her.
Right.
So because it's not public property, it's not like an easement on the side of the road where we can often find that definitive line of where you can be. When you start getting into public areas or not public areas, but open to the public areas, it's a little bit kind of tricky on what the rules are. And so, for instance, you've got, let's just say there's 6 shops there. And like in this case, Planned Parenthood doesn't want you there.
Right.
But maybe Subway doesn't mind you there because they like you coming in, buying in their stuff.
There's multiple tenants in there.
Right. Yeah. So does Planned Parenthood have the right as a tenant there to say you have to leave? But then that is like voided out somehow or something. If Subway's like, no, they're fine.
Right.
If you're purchasing something there, do they have the right to kick you out?
Right.
And one of the reasons it's hard to find this is because different states and different areas, different locations, I want to say municipalities are going to have different rules and different codes that have to be followed. So
they're in California. So just like understand that. So are they on like a sidewalk? Are they in the parking lot?
So correct. Yeah. They are actually in the parking lot is where she's at because she's
like kind of towards like where cars drive in, like set the scene.
Yeah. So past where the cars drive in, and then you have, you've got and I'm trying to remember, I looked it up on Google Maps, but it's been a little while. But you've got as soon as the cars come in, there's several rows of parking. And then the last row is right up against the strip mall right there. So, and I apologize to everyone that's just listening because I talk with my hands. So I'm making all these hand motions. and if you're just listening, you're like, anyway. Where in there are you allowed to be? And I don't even think they really have like picnic tables and areas like that. And with COVID and everything, who knows if they're even open right now. So she is, is she legally able to go right up to Planned Parenthood's front door? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that, but she's staying back to kind of the first parking area, not the one that goes right up to the sidewalk that is the front door. Right. She's staying back just a little bit from there. She's staying, she's just being respectful and staying back and trying not to kick the hornet's nest. So, but there's multiple other shops. There's a security guard we're going to run into later. Right. And Planned Parenthood seems to believe that they have the right to kick her out. And I will go through like what the police officer says. So right here, he's talking about, loitering. Did he say loitering at this point?
He said both loitering and trespassing.
Yeah, loitering and trespassing. So both of those things are going to have to be a little more clear to me. Just
spoiler alert, like her lawyer will end up saying there's a California Supreme Court case that gets into this. And so it sounded to me watching the videos, and we'll jump back into it in a minute, that it's either kind of an open, murky legal question or the law is on the side of what Rebekah's doing. Well, Planned Parenthood seems to want to treat it like a private parking lot, like if they had their own standalone clinic, and it's not that cut and dry.
Yes. So. One quick thing on this, though, is you can see how the officer's speaking as if this is fact, this is the law.
Right.
And you're in violation. It's kind of his tone here.
Yeah.
So let's just see how Rebekah handles this.
Yeah.
I asked a question about that because before I did this, do you want me to put my mask on?
We're outside. I mean, we'll stay 6 feet apart.
I actually just really like that she asked him, like, how do you want me to handle it? Because we're in this COVID situation now, and different people feel differently about social distancing and mask. I just love that the pro-life Sidewalk counselor was the one to be like, hey, how do you want me to do this? And
but she did a lot more than that too. What? She also pointed out, I've already looked into this. So I've done some research, officer.
Right. That's true.
Is it okay if we talk about that?
Yeah.
She didn't start screaming at him, no, you're wrong.
Yes. So he's being respectful and he's being respectful back.
Right. Well, I think, and I believe that, she is getting the respect she's giving.
Yeah. I think that's great.
I contacted a lawyer and I sent her a picture of exactly where I was to make sure that I wasn't trespassing. And she said that I should be fine here because I'm not blocking traffic and this is a public area.
It is private. So it's private property, open to the public. meaning that you're able to scoot on through, back and forth, but hanging out and loitering goes against a city municipal.
What, can you tell me what one?
Yeah.
That's great.
Love it.
Don't just let him say it's against some code or whatever. Right. What exactly are you talking about? Because then we can like go and research it and find out. Right. Even if like on that day you're going to end up leaving, like at least then you can get more specific and get into it. Have the lawyer know what he's talking. That's such a great question.
Need a missile code 28167A.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if you could, that would be great. And then, let's say, because sometimes I can go to Subway and get a sandwich.
Right.
Can I do that and then?
You can.
Pause. Such a great question.
Like she was ready for that already. I think she and the lawyer had already worked that one out because
she must have.
That's just a really interesting question.
What if I go buy a sandwich?
And the officers about it admit that's a really good question too.
So I'll go over that with you because it's a good question. Because like I told those guys, you have business here and you can stay, but you're expected to leave in a reasonable amount of time. Okay. So let's say it takes you roughly 30 minutes to eat a sandwich, and as you're eating it, you're standing here eating it. You're still conducting business. You still have a lawful reason to be here. Reasonable amount of time. 2 hours later, you're still hanging out here.
Sure.
That's a far stretch, right?
We're usually only out here for like an hour and a half or so.
Okay.
I mean, I've done this in the past, and I never. I know they called, and I never actually had like a officer come out here and tell me that we couldn't be here. Just because when I was contacting my lawyer, she said that this area was fine. So I'm a little confused about that, but I don't want to do anything.
A public area.
Just absolute gold. She's doing so well.
What's gold?
Okay.
The thing that I noticed was her getting, and she didn't finish the sentence, but she was getting to like, I don't want to do anything that would like break the law or whatever. Like she's being kind of clear, like I'm not intentionally breaking the law. My lawyer has kind of indicated that I can do this. So I think anytime a police officer hears that, like that's going to make this conversation go better. There's a difference between, intentional civil disobedience. And I'm not saying you should never do civil disobedience. It's not the debate I'm having right now. I'm just saying like there's a difference between that and what Rebekah is trying to do. And she's just being really clear about that.
Yeah, I want to just point out something that's unseen and probably unheard right now is, and unfortunately we can't see him in the video, but the police officer's demeanor has had a radical change.
I haven't noticed that. Tell me about that.
When he first came up, it was you're in violation of XYZ ABC.
That's true.
You basically have to leave.
Go. Yeah.
She very respectfully challenged that, showed him how she's done some research. She didn't throw it in his face. And his demeanor went to, okay, I'm going to work with you on this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a discussion about what this is. And his demeanor from I'm kicking you out to and this is the law. You have to. He didn't say you have to go, but that was his demeanor.
Yeah.
And he's moved to, okay, we're going to have a discussion about this. We're going to get into some of the details, and that's okay. And she's asking questions for clarity, and she's saying, not belligerently, I don't understand, which is a legitimate question because, to be frank with you, I don't think he understands either exactly what the law is saying here.
Yeah. Her JFA training on clarification questions is really coming through here. She's doing great at asking clarification questions in a respectful, calm, not pushy way. Yeah.
Would be the park, sidewalk. Yep. That's all public. But the private, the property here that we're standing in the parking lot is private because it's owned by the shopping center. But it is open to the public. Sure. So you as a person in the world, you have every expectation to be able to walk through here and conduct business.
Okay.
Yes. It's the problem is when you stop or you're not conducting business, and now it's trespassing.
Sure. Right. Okay. So are you asking us to head out right now? Like we can't.
I'm asking.
That is a very good question too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people don't ask. They just kind of assume what has been implied about what they need to do. And officers aren't always going to enforce something like that. Like they might not be ready to go as far as telling you have to go. He might have, I don't know. But I think sometimes we can be so submissive to just be like, all right, well, okay. It's like so wanting to like, I don't want you mad at me or be in trouble or anything. Her asking, okay, are you asking me to leave is going to be, especially like if there's going to be a legal case, that is a critically important question.
Right. Well, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit here. No, I'm not going to. Okay. I changed my mind. I'm sorry.
You're allowed to change your mind.
Let's keep going.
To either conduct business or hang out on the sidewalk.
I'm actually getting pretty hungry, so.
Okay. Sounds good.
I love this guy's response.
How long you been asking Dito?
Almost 5 years now.
Right on.
Yeah.
Would you, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call just because since my lawyer has a picture of where exactly I'm standing, I'm gonna call her. Okay. And if you could just explain it to her too, just so we're all on the same page.
No problem.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, because I'm gonna step forward closer to you. I'm gonna.
Okay. I can put mine on too.
Yeah.
Very
putting their face masks on.
No problem.
Pause 1 second. So just be careful going to calling your lawyer. I'm actually surprised that he said, yeah, I'll talk to your lawyer. Usually police officers won't do that. In my experience, usually they'll just say, no, that's for you guys to figure out. What I'm telling you is this, this, and this. Yeah. And move on. She is so kind and so respectful. She got away with saying, can we call my lawyer to clarify this? Yeah. And she's just being very sweet. Right. And so she got away with it. I just want to warn our listeners, you may not, if you jump to, I'm calling what it may come across as is I'm calling my lawyer on you. Right. And cops hear that all the time. It doesn't faze them. It doesn't scare them. Yeah. She did well on it. So, but let's keep.
So let's say as a thought experiment for the cases where the police officer says, no, I'm not interested in talking to your lawyer. At that point, I'm assuming the right move is to go ahead and comply with whatever he's told you to do, and then call your lawyer, get his identification number, get his badge number and stuff like that. If in case he's done something wrong, but like go ahead and talk to your lawyer, somewhere where everyone has agreed you can be. I'm assuming that's the right move at that point.
Close, but I'm gonna add some details to that. I'm going to say, first of all, you've got to get clarity from the police officer. Mm-hmm. What are you saying, officer? Mm-hmm. Are you saying you'd like me to go over there? Or are you saying, if I don't go over there, you're going to arrest me? Yeah. Write me a citation.
Find out what the consequences will be if you don't do what he says he would, quote unquote, like you to do.
Yes. And you can say that. Well, okay. I'm not trying to be belligerent here. I want clarity. What happens if I don't? Right. I'm going to follow the law, officer, if that's what you're choosing to do. And we encourage people to follow the law. Right. I'm going to follow the law. I need to understand and be really clear with you, or you need to be clear with me. This is the law. You have to do this, or you're in violation of the law. Right. So something along those lines needs to happen. So, but let's keep going. Okay.
It's when we get within that little bubble, we have to really be mindful of it.
To me, the biggest issue would be like one tenant wants you, one tenant doesn't. Now you got like a whole disaster, right? Somebody's like, we want you to stay.
Hey, Allison, this is Rebekah. I'm out doing that sidewalk counseling and
parking lot counseling.
Police did get calls, and they are saying that this is private property, correct? So that we can't stay here unless we actually do business here. So I just wanted to let you know, because I thought we had said that this area was fine as long as it wasn't blocking traffic, and if I did buy something from Subway, say like that kind of fits.
Hey, this is Officer Rivera. This is Officer Rivera with the Escondido Police Department, and we're in the parking lot at 347 West Mission Avenue, and the parking lot is a private parking lot open to the public because it is privately owned. It is not public property. So I just came out here to kind of give them a heads up on how they can continue to do this, and what we can and cannot enforce. So the private parking lot is open to the public, meaning that anybody can venture through here. You can come on in, you can do business with any of these fine businesses in the shopping center, but you're also expected to leave within a reasonable amount of time. as to where you're not trespassing or loitering. And so the reasonable amount of time is kind of subjective, right? So if these fine individuals walk into Subway and they buy a sandwich, yeah, it might take 30, 45 minutes to eat the sandwich. But if you're here for 2 hours after you bought the sandwich, you're not eating it, that's not a reasonable amount of time for you to exit the parking lot without it being considered trespassing.
There's actually a California Supreme Court case directly on point dealing with these sorts of situations where you have private shopping centers, but they're open to the public for gatherings, such as food restaurants.
That is not where we're at today. So I'm advising them that if they want to move to public property, that's fine, like the sidewalk. But if you're in this private property, you have to conduct business, and you have to kind of skedaddle within a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name at first, and then is there someone that I can call, maybe like the watch manager, who's in charge right now, just to clear this up in the future?
Yes. My last name is Rivera, R-I-V as in Victor, E-R-A. And my badge number is 510. And the watch commander can be reached at, if you're ready. Yeah, area code 760.
Okay.
839 4767. I'm not exactly sure. They rotate out of the office, and one goes on patrol and one goes back to the office. So I'm not sure who's there right now.
Oh, okay. I see.
But it is a sergeant.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like I told them, I have no problem with them, either buying lunch or buying some sodas. But when you buy a soda, it takes roughly 10, 15 minutes to consume said soda and chips, as to where a sandwich might take longer. So there are ways to kind of hang out and stick around. And I'm not saying that they got to be off the property or I'm throwing them in handcuffs, nothing like that. I'm giving them both sides of the story here.
Yeah.
I don't know what both sides of the story means to him. I hear one side of the story. I don't like what's the other side of the story that he's giving. I guess other than like almost like hinting at maybe you can stay if you buy enough things or whatever.
Yeah, I think maybe he was kind of talking about like, if you can find business to do here, I don't have a job. I have no grounds to stand on.
Right. It does feel kind of like what he's hinting at.
I want to be like kind of clear where I think this officer is coming from.
Okay.
I don't know if he's pro-choice or pro-life. What he is in this moment in time is a police officer on a call who's trying to peacefully get to the next call.
Right.
Without like having to do a bunch of paperwork. Right. It's like, I can only imagine he's thinking in his head, I'm not hauling this young lady into jail, and my supervisor's going to be like, oh, what's she here for? Well, she was standing out in front of pro-life work, and he's going to be like, we've got better things to do,
Yeah.
And so he actually seems like a very reasonable minded person who's just trying to get through some of the things he's saying in here when they start kind of getting into this vague territory.
Yeah.
I don't know if he doesn't know what the law is or the law is not clear.
Yeah.
Something interesting that also happened is, unfortunately we couldn't hear everything, but her lawyer said something about there was another case. This is kind of
California Supreme Court case, right?
Has already ruled on this. Yes, Rebekah can be here.
Right.
And I'm not sure if there was something else in there, but then he said something like, well, I'm not going there right now.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting if that kind of went to court, where you were shown the law officer and you chose to ignore it and, potentially arrest this person anyway.
Yeah. That could have been problematic.
Which might have been one of the reasons why he said, I'm not arresting anybody today for this.
Right.
He pretty much said that just there, which in Rebekah's favor puts her in a better position, because now it's really unclear, which is not good that she doesn't have clarity, but legally she's in a better position because he's said so many different kinds of things. Like he's been pretty consistent on.
I feel like all this tells me that the law is not clear, and he kind of knows that, because otherwise I feel like I would see more clarity or more confidence of I'm going to do this thing now. If the law is unclear about hanging out in parking lots with multiple businesses, if you're one of the business's customers, like I could see why that could be murky and confusing, and then you don't want to get the police department in trouble or whatever if you make a wrongful arrest or something.
Yeah, and let's just be honest here. This is not like the biggest deal call he's probably been on.
Probably not. Probably not. That
probably
whole
not
morning
within
he's
the
probably
past
had.
hour. It's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Great. So.
Anybody's giving that. And then I think they're getting hungry. It's 10 o'clock, maybe some late breakfast sandwiches or something.
Hint?
Yeah, he's giving her it out.
And yeah, and like I said, it's because it is open to the public. Being open to the public means you gotta be able to get out of here in a reasonable amount of time or keep conducting business. Because it's what we have established in the past is that let's just say that.
Can you tell me what law you would say that they're violating, just so I can do some research into it? There's 602, but it only applies to something that's not open to the general public.
So we have a Escondido Municipal Code. It's 28. I'm sorry. Are you ready? 28-167. A is an Adam.
Okay. I'll take a look at that as well. And start to call.
Yeah. And so the real reason behind it, I think from what I've gathered myself, and this is not why it's enforced, but if let's say people are coming over here and they're hanging out. Their cars are parked in the parking spots. It's a direct reflection of businesses not being able to get customers in, because now those parking spots are taken up by people who are not conducting business and so forth.
One thing on that though, I am not parked
No, I
here.
didn't say you were.
I parked across the street, so I'm actually not taking up a parking spot.
So you're taking up parking spots for those businesses.
Well, I know.
You're good. It's
So
cool.
that's kind of like where I've seen it come from, but I don't sit down in City Hall. I don't write these things. I just seen stuff similar to that in the past, where businesses are calling saying, "Oh, our parking spots are taken up," type thing. All these people have been hanging.
How's it going?
Directly affecting my business.
So at this point, especially just for the listeners, what happens is the male sidewalk counselor, who is the one with the phone recording, sees someone else going in towards Planned Parenthood, and see he starts sidewalk counseling or parking lot counseling or whatever you want to call this thing. Meanwhile, Rebekah is still talking to the officer. So you're going to hear kind of two simultaneous conversations.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
Cool.
We're just offering, there's another medical facility here that we just highly, highly recommend.
Okay.
They do great work if you're looking for somewhere.
All right.
Is there anything we can do to help?
No, not right now.
Awesome. Well, you have a really great day. If there is something on your way out, feel free to let us know.
So real quick, let's do like a sidewalk counseling tangent. Is there a different way that, obviously you've got this thing where you've only got moments.
Yeah.
Is there something differently than you would have done with the couple of opportunities you have to speak to the potential Planned Parenthood client?
Yeah.
Than what he did? He seemed super friendly and chill. Right?
Yeah, so he did that well. This is a major gear change. We're not talking about police anymore.
Yeah.
We're talking about
just
sidewalk
for a minute.
counseling.
Just for a minute.
Yeah. I've had a lot of and heard a lot of people talk success, especially about being successful with these kinds of clinics, because you don't know why they're going in there. They could be going in there for there's so many other services that they do offer, and they do as well. So they may be there for an STI testing, which they don't want to talk about with you. And so they may be there for an abortion. We just don't know. I think he did all right asking, is there anything I can help you with? Is there any of this? once he had her attention, I think it would have been helpful for him to actually go down the list of what they offer. And if he could do that pretty quickly, and then a list of, hey, we can actually get all these things. This thing's free over here. This thing's free over there. This thing's free over there. Are you here for an abortion today? And you can even ask them straight up, are you here for an abortion today? Or for, are you 486? And, in these kinds of cases, I actually do advocate that you ask them, are you here for an abortion? And for some reason, a lot of times people are honest and they'll just tell you. So unfortunately, what kind of happened here was she didn't say while she was there.
Right. He didn't really ask.
And it makes sense he didn't ask because it's kind of a hard thing to ask. Yeah. And she said, no, I don't really want any help, but I'm hearing a lot of hesitation in her voice. I'm not hearing no, don't want to talk to you. Like she's kind of
Which could be hesitation about the abortion, or it could be hesitation that the stranger is asking her questions, right? Like that could go either way.
Absolutely. But the fact is she stopped to talk to him. It's not like he's blocking her. He's not wrestling her to the ground or anything. She's walking along. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? I know you're going to this place. Here's what they are offering. But I've got something for free here.
Right.
Are you here for an abortion today? And see where that goes.
Right. And if she says yes, then he can go into the conversation-oriented method that you explain in the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass. Get the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass if you don't have it. We've got like a couple of hours of lessons just on what you do at that point.
That's right.
Like there's a lot of different things and a lot of different places where you can go. It's too much for us to cover in this podcast, but we have a lot of training content that we've created for, because people want to know, like, what do I say out there? Like I'm willing to be out there, but tell me what to say. You've given people a lot of what to say. So, all right.
Trespass. I wrote down my information along with that municipal code here for backup, so I'm going to hand it over to her now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for me, ma'am?
No, not at this time.
All right.
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to do some research and then I'll give the wash commander a call and get an address and send a letter over to them, and hopefully we can clear this up going forward.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Any other questions, guys?
No, we get you. We really appreciate you. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, and I see it both sides, right? So I have no problem with you guys coming out and doing that. Like we've had a bunch of protests lately, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Just when it starts going south is the real problem.
No.
And this isn't. I don't see this going south. I am gonna talk to the business owner that called us, obviously, and let them know I gave you guys a warning.
Yeah, of course.
Conduct business, open to the public. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Any other questions from you guys?
No.
So at this point, then the male Sidewalk counseling officer kind of has a little back and forth about this kind of homeless camp thing going on, because he actually works at the business next door. And so they have kind of just a really congenial, just for the sake of time, I don't think I'm going to play all of that because it's just completely off topic. But I do want to play a little thing that happens just at the very, very end of the conversation after all of that.
Yeah, if you want, grab sodas, chips. That place is open.
I will. I'm gonna get some Subway.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Good luck.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that went pretty well. And at the end there, again, he's just kind of reminding them, it seems like, hey, if you want to go be a customer somewhere, then I'm leaving now.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I feel like is happening.
Here's your out. I'm going to tell the owner.
Right.
I think he was saying, when he was saying I'm on both sides of this earlier, I think because he went back
you think
to
that's
it
what
here.
He means?
Yeah, I think he was saying I'm on both sides. I see both sides of pro-choice and pro-life.
Interesting.
And so
I
think he was just trying to be neutral.
Yeah.
In here, and I think Rebekah just did really well, and the guy did well too. I don't know his name, but
Officer Rivera. Oh, the male Sidewalk counselor. Yeah, I don't know. He's just man on the transcripts. I don't know his name, and I didn't have time to get it. I had to make all this stuff just in the last couple of days. So
really grateful he recorded it.
Yes,
that's really helpful for us.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like going through this again, I see where the officer said, I'm not going to be arresting anyone today.
Yeah.
He said something to the effect of, I'm not taking anyone off in handcuffs today over this.
Yeah. My read of that was he is working under the assumption that by the time he leaves, they're maybe going like they're willing to follow that. Like they would be willing to go to the Sidewalk on mission if like that's kind of where they ended up. But at the same time, he kept on kind of saying, hey, go buy a soda, go buy chips. So yeah, I guess
Well, he's saying if you have a legal right to be here, I have nothing that I can do to you legally. Like I can't arrest you for going to buy a Coke and drinking your Coke or whatever. So, or if you eat a sandwich, he talked about that. So he's giving them lots of outs. Yeah. He's trying to just be like, okay, how do we peacefully move this along so I can peacefully go to my next thing? And
the officer they deal with on the second day is less congenial.
Yeah.
He's a little bit less.
Let's jump into that one. Yeah. I think this is a week later. Is that right? Because I think she goes once a week.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure.
Actually, so you just send me the dates. Hang on. So that first one happens on August 7th, and then this happens on August 28th.
Okay.
So this is several weeks later.
About
different police officer. Let's take a look at how this goes.
How are y'all doing today?
Hi.
Doing well.
How are you?
Good. Here's the issue.
Yeah.
Technically, I get it. Freedom of speech and stuff, and I'm not going to infringe on any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't approach the people that are going in there to do business. And technically, this is a private parking lot. And if you're not doing business in any of these businesses, then we can have you go to the sidewalk. And you're free to do whatever you want on the public stuff. But you absolutely cannot be approaching the people, despite how emotional it is, and it's a very controversial topic.
And why?
It's just the way it is. They have their rights, you have your rights, but we can't harass them and do those types of things. If you want to sit out here with the sign, whatever, that's fine.
This one got me fired up.
Yeah. Talk to me, man.
The blood's boiling all over again hearing this. Because his definition of harassment is talking to someone. And he says, that's harassment. It's not free speech.
Yeah.
He and I have a very big disagreement on what free speech is. Like we're so far apart here.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like what he's saying is if they don't like what you're saying, it's harassment and you can't do it.
Right.
You can't go talk to people. I hate to break it to him, but that's free speech. You can go talk to people. Harassment, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly where that line is, but his definition of going up to someone and talking to them is harassment because it's a hot topic.
I mean, I would think that if the person kind of several times kind of asks you to leave, to say like, I don't want to talk about this, please leave me alone. And you keep on like, feel like getting in their face and stuff, like maybe at some point there.
Sure. That'd be reasonable.
We're not lawyers, obviously, but like at some point, it just seems like calling like what they're doing when we know what we're doing, which is like kindly, quickly offering some information. If they don't want it, letting them go. Calling that harassment seems like a stretch.
It certainly does. And I think you've got a great point there. There's got to be some kind of line of asking people and being told they don't want to talk to you and you keep pursuing them. Right. Yes, of course, there's some line of harassment. I don't know where that is, but
it's so far from what we teach people to do that we don't have to know the legal definitions because we are very clear in the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass. Like if they don't want to talk to you, move on.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. If they don't want to talk to you, be respectful and you can say, well, if you change your mind, I'd love to hear your story,
All right, hang on. Jen, the awesome admin, just gave us the definition of harassment. So harassment is an act or instance of harassing, torment, vexation, or intimidation. Let me pull up harassing. To disturb or bother persistently. Mm-hmm. Torment, as with troubles or cares, pester. To intimidate or coerce, as with persistent demands or threats. Did anyone watching the guy Sidewalk Counseling in the last video think that he was intimidating? He was so not intimidating. To trouble by repeated attacks, incursions, things like that. Okay, so
he had paper in his hand.
This is not
he could
harassment.
have cut her with the paper or something. He's being very firm right now.
Yes.
Different demeanor than the first officer.
Yes.
We'll see how this changes and stuff. But I'm going to go so far as to say he's acting a bit like a bully right now. I think he is. He's just plowing through. Okay, here's what it is. He starts off like he's their friend and he's nice, and then he says some stuff that's simply not true, and pressuring them in a pretty domineering way on what he thinks they have to do. He's not leaving much wiggle room. So let's see how Rebekah handles this. And
you can't approach the people that are going in there to seek services. It's just...
Okay, and is it because, so if we were on the sidewalk and we were going to approach someone, that's
it's public
fine.
property, and you can hold the signs, and you can talk to whoever you want out there. But this technically is a private parking lot unless you're doing business with the business.
She's got her sandwich.
She's got her what?
I mean, yeah, I did purchase something, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
And that's
I'm
why,
a customer of the...
quite frankly, that's why I'm really not pushing the issue, because you guys are free to believe and practice.
And we would never harass anybody.
Well, I just saw you approach her as she was going in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does that constitute?
I don't think
Great
they
question.
are inviting it or would appreciate it. I mean,
Sorry, that's not what harassment is. guy.
No, it's not.
They wouldn't appreciate it.
And I'm really proud of both these two. Very respectfully challenging.
Yeah.
And
does that constitute harassment is a very fair question, because he's basically defined exactly what he's saying it is. And they're making him spell it out. I think that's really, really
that
good.
is a wonderful thing they're doing. Yeah.
But also, but note their tone is still like they're so respectful. So, dude, really good.
See the signs, they know your stance. Let's just be honest. They know your stance, and then someone going in there to seek some services, I don't think they want people.
See, like, it seems like he doesn't understand what they're trying to do. It's like their goal is not merely for people to know what their stance is.
Right.
Their goal is to offer resources to people.
Right.
That's different. They can't just hold a sign and be like, okay, we're totally cool, like from way over there. That's not them doing everything that they're trying to do. They're not protesters.
Yeah.
They're sidewalk counselors.
Yeah. We're closer to humanitarian workers.
Yeah.
Than protesters.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We're trying to help people get to a better position, get to and have more resources and availability.
And you've usually got to start a conversation to be able to offer those. Yeah.
But the officer needs to know that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to change all their minds or really, but we need to be able to tell the police officers, well, wait a minute.
Right.
I'm not here to protest.
Right.
I'm here as like a humanitarian worker. I'm a humanitarian worker. I'm here to help people. I'm here to get them services. I think this place abuses people. I think they just take. And I want to get them to a point where they can receive so that they can move to the next step in their life, get to a better place.
Right.
And so that's different than protesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just said good morning, and like obviously she kind of wanted to not talk to me, so I let her go. But there's definitely girls that I say good morning to and talk to them and have a kind conversation.
And I don't know exactly what happened, but they're saying that you're harassing people, and whether.
So if that's what they're saying, then can I call? Because I have a lawyer for this. My lawyer. So
I'm not going to kick you off the property or anything.
Right, but if I can't offer it to them, like we're just. Offering someone a flyer.
The signs, or if you create one, or you can say, "Hey, can I interest you in a flyer?"
That's all we're doing. We're just handing out flyers.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think maybe the approaching, and I don't know if they're going and saying something to them when they get in there, like, "Hey, those people are harassing." I don't know who's saying that. You know
okay, pause.
I mean?
Hold on. You don't know what's going on, but you're
trying to get them to move to the sidewalk.
Telling them this could be happening, so you can't do it.
Right.
This cop's dug himself
accused them
in
of
so many
harassment,
holes.
And now he's saying, well, I don't know. They said that you were harassing.
Right.
It's like, well, which is it? Are we harassing based on your wrong definition of harassment? Or are we harassing simply because they accused us of harassment?
Which probably wouldn't have been the best thing to say to the police officer. It's just so frustrating to watch because she does such a great job. I agree. I think Rebekah I think she did a better job at like keeping her composure and just being like friendly and respectful than I would have.
Yeah. I
think I probably would have done the wrong thing and been like, officer, let's just go over what I'm hearing real quick. You're saying that I'm harassing based on me walking up to hand somebody a flyer, but I can walk up and hand somebody a flyer and
but I can't walk up. I can hand them a flyer. I can't walk up.
But I can't, yeah. And they said that I'm harassing. Well, what if I say you're harassing me? Like,
yeah, definitely don't do that.
Then at some point, don't we have to have proof? And what is the proof?
Yeah, I think she handled it way better.
I think so. Yeah. Let's keep going here.
Okay.
Just trying to.
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
Believe me,
yeah.
you guys are
Yeah.
very copacetic than some of the other ones that I got to deal with.
Right.
No, we're not here to do that. We're not here to cause someone a problem.
I
We're
get
just
it.
here to help. And
I know. And you know what? Sometimes it is an educational piece. I'm a realist.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
people just don't know. They don't know what they don't know, or
someone
they're a
said-
product of their environment, and they're growing up
Yes.
a certain way. This is how you take care of things. And sometimes it is an educational
And maybe
piece. but
someone offering to help would make the difference. Of like, if someone was there to help me, we
Yeah.
can work this out.
I
All
get
right,
it.
pause for
I
just
agree.
a second. Demeanor change. He just changed because they're doing so well.
Yeah.
He changed. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I see where you guys are coming from.
Yeah. We're just
Okay,
trying to
I got
help.
a call that you're over here harassing people and pestering people. I get here and you're actually very reasonable people.
Yeah.
And you're treating me with a lot of respect. You're treating, and
Yeah.
so he's saying multiple
This
times.
is a
I get
stark difference in how he was in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is very interesting. That's a great
Yeah.
catch.
I agree, but
Would it be okay with you if you could just tell what you told me to my attorney?
no,
to,
I'm not a mediator between you and your
Yeah.
attorney. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that road or that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I just tell you, our standpoint, City of Escondido, the police department. And here's the deal too, we do have a lot of homeless people that hang out here,
Yes.
and then it invites drug use and everything else. So we kick the homeless people off the parking lot
And then
for not
not
conducting
us.
business. So then we got to be careful that we don't create a double standard where, because you all have signs and a message to give, that you're getting special treatment that transients don't get.
Okay.
You guys clearly aren't doing the same business that they're doing when they sit in the parking lot, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, that's where it's kind of a double-edged sword. So we just gotta be mindful of that. So just please leave them. You can stay here and say, hey, can I offer you a brochure? And if they keep going, they keep
Yes.
going. But
Okay.
I'm with that for sure.
okay.
All right. Thank
All
you
right,
so
folks.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and can
have
I
a
get?
wonderful day and
too.
try and stay cool.
Yes, you too.
So what do you think about him kind of making this comparison? He's like saying, like, we would have a double standard if we kicked homeless people who are doing drugs off the parking lot, but we don't kick you off the parking lot too.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me like what I'm hearing is making a comparison between what the sidewalk counselors are doing, who are, as they've already explained in this conversation too, like customers, to homeless people doing drugs and by definition loitering. Like, that doesn't seem like a fair comparison to me.
No, I don't think it's a fair comparison. And I think they did the right thing by not confronting him on
Not
it.
going there.
Because I think he realized it too. It's
That's
like,
interesting.
they're doing multiple things that are illegal.
Yeah.
You've said they're doing all these things.
Right.
What am I doing that's illegal?
Right.
A very questionable thing that I actually don't think it's illegal. It doesn't sound like you're sure,
Right.
but do you want to go down that rabbit hole? I think they were right to just drop
Right.
that issue, because look at the result. He walks up and is telling them they have to leave, basically. You can't be here. You can't be harassing people. You can't be talking to people. And he goes, at the end here, he's like, oh yeah, you can give them flyers. You can talk to people. You're conducting business. You're fine. I'm going to go. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
He went from you have to leave in the beginning and you can't talk to anyone to you're fine.
Yeah.
You can continue exactly what you're doing. I mean, that's my interpretation of what just happened here.
Right. Okay. So we still have 2 days of video left to do. So I think what we'll do, let's make this a two-parter.
Okay.
Because we've been going for like an hour or something like
That's
that.
it, really? It only feels like 15 minutes. This is
a
great.
series. So this is going to be a series now. So just like, so wrap us up. Is there anything that we've definitely heard some things that you maybe would have liked to have said, but it's a good thing that you weren't there to say. Is there anything that you wish that Rebekah or the other sidewalk counselor had said or asked to either of the officers that they didn't, that you haven't talked about yet?
I think they did so well. They took a lot more time to get to some of the points than probably I would have.
Okay.
But I think that worked to their advantage. They actually won both of these officers over to their side. Important things that they did is they didn't just go, okay, we're leaving, goodbye.
Yeah.
They were very respectful.
Yep.
They were also firm with him. Here's my understanding. Please help me understand where I'm wrong here.
Right.
Maybe firm's a strong word to use there because they were compliant.
Right.
They weren't belligerent. They weren't going, well, you're just a pro-choice. You're part of the pro-choice machine. You're just against me. I'm here trying to say you're a baby murderer too. They didn't go down any of that. They just went, you've got a job to do. You're trying to do your job. I respect that. Here's how I'm trying to conduct it. I'm not breaking in any laws that I understand. Please help me understand if I am breaking laws. And by talking with the officer, by not being belligerent, they're not used to dealing with people like this.
Yeah.
They're used to dealing with people who are dukes up, ready to fight. Yeah. Maybe not physically, but at the very least, the hostile environment we're with, I think they really appreciated the demeanor these two took.
Right.
And we saw the results. At the end of it, both cops basically say, okay, you can keep doing what you're doing. Have a nice day.
Right. Because I don't think Planned Parenthood was probably thrilled.
No, I don't think this is the result. They wanted to see him in handcuffs being hauled off. And I think that both the police officers got a much different call on this. They got a call that was probably something like, there are some pro-lifers out there. They're shoving papers in people's faces. They're stopping people from coming into our business. They're harassing people. They're probably calling them names and stuff, and they get there and none of that's true. So it's hard for them to go, yeah, I'm going to take you to jail today.
Right. So in part 2, just to tease this, we don't have police officers in part 2. We have maybe at least one interpretation would be the most emotionally manipulative private security officer I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It gets weird.
It's really weird.
It's definitely weird. It's weirder than this one.
Yeah.
It's pretty odd, but I still think they handle it pretty well. I'm really interested in hearing what your take is on how this goes and what they could have done differently. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for listening, and definitely check back in a couple of weeks when we put out part 2 and talk about this security officer.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Equipped for Life podcast, a project of Equal Rights Institute. Equal Rights Institute uses speaking, writing, YouTube videos, podcasts, online courses, and campus outreach to help pro-life advocates in the areas of practical dialogue tips, relational apologetics, pro-life philosophy, and sidewalk counseling. If you've been helped by this podcast, please consider supporting it by making a donation at equalrightsinstitute.com.